All right, well, guys, if you have a question, please just go ahead and put it in the comments. If you have a question about what's going on with the casting office or what's going on with the Motion Picture Association of Utah. Um, all right, so here's a couple ones. First off, lots of SAG film casting auditions from you lately. If I can keep it there. Do you find that you actually end up hiring locals? Absolutely. And most of ours are locals. Most everybody we hire is local. We have a really good talent base in Utah. And, this movie I'm working on right now that we're still doing right now, we have about 40 parts that we're going to cast out of Utah for sure. 40 speaking lines. So it's a lot. The reason I'm doing the Q&A, Brooke, is just because I want to keep. I don't get to see people. I'm mostly watching tape, so I want to keep people informed, and I'm going to try to do this more. I don't know if this will be the forum I do it on because I actually don't like that you guys can't talk back, and I have to read these questions. But I will figure a way to get more information out. I noticed that there were projects on the spreadsheet from Film Commission dating back to early last year that are still listed and active. Could you talk about some of those and where they're at? I'm not sure what you're talking about, the projects on the spreadsheet from the Film Commission. Oh, that would probably be that those are projects that got the incentive that might have pushed. I'm not sure exactly. I work with the Film Commission, but I don't do their job. But it's probably people who have pushed and are waiting to shoot this year. So that's probably what that is, Joe. How important is it to live in Utah for these casting auditions? It's actually pretty important. In order to get the incentive, people have to be locals. They actually have to be locals. So yes, we do hire people from out of state, but having a Utah address and having being an actual local is actually very helpful. Productions are always looking to hire locals because of the way the incentive is set up. Top 3 mistakes you've seen being made for self-tapes. Well, number 1, not following direction. Each project's different and they have different directions, especially commercials. If you don't follow those directions, we can't send you on. Number 2 is probably not understanding that it's about the acting. It's not about how many props you wear, how many props you use, how much setup you use. You're not shooting the commercial. You're just doing the audition. So it's just simple. Some kind of clear black background and we can see your face and hear you. So that's important. And probably the 3rd mistake is people just kind of wing it at the very end. Everybody waits the last minute to tape it 5 minutes before they have to get it in. And that you can tell that they didn't really work on it. So that's probably it. Hi, Lee. The Chosen. That's awesome. Okay, I recently have gotten feedback that because I'm a white blonde in Utah, it'll be hard for me to stand out in that saturated crowd. How can I stand out when there's so many people that look like me? It's going to be all about your acting, McKenna. It's always about, in the end, the acting. It's got to be that you're just on top of your game. Yeah, there's probably more blondes in Utah than other, hair colors and things like that, but what can you do about that? You're not going to change your look and you're not going to change that. So you just have to do the best job you can with your acting. Would you ever cast anyone from out of state? I have. We cast people from out of state all the time. That happens. It's just that the incentive for Utah, the tax incentives for Utah are set up to hire locals. So, but we do cast people from out of state all the time. Do you feel Sundance leaving Utah will have a real long-term impact on the scene here? I've worked with Sundance for 20 years in the labs, and I love Sundance. I've only gotten a few jobs because of Sundance as far as casting director, but because of my ties to it. So I don't think it's going to hurt production or the impact on crew or people working here in the business. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I do think it's going to hurt the state a little bit as far as exposure to shooting here and things like that a little bit, but I don't think it's going to completely. I don't think it'll hurt production in any sort of way, just because Sundance was geared around a different thing. It was a festival to show films. It wasn't about production, so I don't think it's really going to hurt the production crews in Utah. How does a Canadian actress get cast in an American TV show or movie? Well, you're gonna have to get a green card to work in Utah, work in the United States. Number one, you're gonna have to be legal to work in the United States, and you have to audition and book a part just like everybody else. It's a little bit harder, but you definitely have to be legal to work in the United States. MPAU. So you guys know I'm the president of the Motion Picture Association of Utah, and we are basically a lobbying group that goes and lobbies for tax incentives for film and television for Utah. Best thing you can do is be a member. Go to MPAU, www.mpau.org, and sign up. It's for an individual, it's a $50 fee for the year. When we have a call to arms and we need people to write their legislators, do that. We'll have some get-togethers. We're still planning on what we're doing next year. We know we have to ask for more money next year, so we will definitely have those. Come to the get-togethers. Help where you can. We do need more people on the board, so volunteer. There's a way to sign up to be on the board to see if you be vetted to be on the board and see if you can do that. All right, Carolyn. When a production gives you the dates for shooting, how locked in are those? Sometimes they're 25-day spread on if I'm supporting hard to reserve almost a month. Okay, so a lot of times when we start a production, they don't know what day each character is shooting yet. They don't have a locked board. They are still getting their locations. They're still getting, so they don't know exactly when that actor's going to work. So we can only give roundabout dates. It's like a 25-day spread in the shoot. And so sometimes the character will work one day, sometimes the character will work a week. And we don't even know that yet because, again, they're still doing the board, they're still doing the schedule. So the best you can do is just be as available as you can in that 25-day spread. We'll take into consideration what we can, and we'll work with what we can. That's why we ask those questions, are you available, those kind of things, so we can try to work with those schedules. It doesn't always happen, but we do everything we can to try to make that work. So just understand that those are just a guideline. Sometimes a movie pushes a week because they can't get in a location. Sometimes they pull, sometimes they bring that up. It just depends. So those are just general dates when we're asking for dates. Have I cast any parts for the current film, The Edge of Normal? No parts have been cast yet. The director has been watching tape. She will be in town in the next couple weeks, and we'll be holding some callbacks. But no, we are still in the process of finalizing that movie. Wait, will you show us how you want your audition tapes to look so we can book with you? I just want to be able to see your face. I mean, if most of your stuff should be exactly where I'm at right here. It doesn't need to be pulled back very far unless it's a commercial where they're asking for a lot of action. And we give that in the instructions when we do that. Just want to be able to see you act. I want to see you do your moment. So it's just about seeing you. So it's not brain surgery. It's not overly produced. You don't need to go pay somebody lots of money to shoot it. You don't need to do that. We just want to see you act. So I don't see you. I just see the comment board. I am honestly, this is new for me. So Barbara, I don't think there's a way for me to see you guys. So will Actors Access start to be used for casting in the future? Brooke, if the Actors Access is a little difficult because I'm always looking for locals, and the problem is with Actors Access you have to send it out to a general region area, and so you get a lot of people who would not qualify for tax incentives. So for that reason, we're doing the casting the way we're doing it right now. If that changes and we can work with Actors Access, we love working with it. We end up uploading all of you guys' stuff to Actors Access all the time, and that's how we present to our directors and things like that. But at this moment, we're going to continue down this road. We might change it up a little bit the way we're doing it, but it's going to probably stay the same for a while. What should I watch to see what roles are available? Lou, pretty much you have to go through an agent or get on our independent list, and then we send you, if we have something for you, we'll send you an audition. But it's usually through agents and through independent lists. We don't post this stuff on Facebook and stuff. We're looking for professional actors, and most people, if you just post it straight to Facebook, they have no clue how to act, and they have never done it, and they've never trained. So we don't usually post on any public forum for our auditions. Once in a while, we will. If we know the role's going to be hard, or it's very specific to what we're looking for, and we know we don't have it in the agencies. So, how to tackle action and movement in the self-tape. Everybody asks me that all the time. the truth is you don't have to move much. Again, we're just seeing what you can do with the moment. If you were in a live audition and this was the framing of the tape, the action has to be here. It has to be right here. So whatever it is you can do. If you have to look around, you can actually look around here and you can do things here. But as long as it's just kind of in the frame, we understand you're not going to be able to run. We understand you're not going to be able to do all kinds of stuff. We just want to see the performance. In the end, it's going to be about the performance, not about the action. You know, if somebody's asking you to do some kind of stunt on tape for an audition, it's kind of a bad sides. It's not really easy to do. So that my best advice is to just kind of do it within the containment of that scene. You can kind of exit and enter if you want, but just in the containment of the frame. I was wondering if there is anything that can make casting directors pass on an audition outside of the acting, such as technical aspects. As personal question is extremely long hair, something that will hinder chances of being chosen for roles. Okay, so that's a good question. We don't pass on you because we can pass on you because of a look. If you do not look like what we're looking for, you know, we can pass on you. So if we're looking for, you know, some military person that's supposed to be, you know, in the Army, long hair would hurt you. So it just depends on the role, I guess is the best way to put it. So yes, sometimes the really long hair will be good for you and sometimes it won't be. You have to fit the character we're looking for too. So yes, we can pass on you on a look, but most of the time it's about acting. It's not, excuse me, something in my throat. It's not usually about, you know, the look, but we, you know, if you don't fit the look, we probably won't bring you in. What questions do you wish actors would ask? That's a good question, Heidi. You know, I think actors get wrapped up in all the technical aspects of this because of the self-tapes and because of the, you know, it's a different way of doing things, especially old school actors that are used to coming into live auditions. I think what people forget is this is an art form. This is about you. We want to see you do your art. So whatever makes you able to show your art the best is the way to do it. It's really not about me. Excuse me, wow. It's really about that art form and you being able to show it on tape. So I'm not worried about, you know, if I can see you, I'm great. I don't need all the other aspects because in the end, we'll light you. We're going to put clothes on you. We're going to do all kinds of stuff in the film. What we need to see is the acting, the art form, what you do. And a lot of people get off that track and they worry about more about how lit you have to be and how technical and do I need to wear costume and things like that. None of that matters as long as we can get you to see as long as we can see your art. So, yeah. What is the most features Utah has had in a production at one time? Wow, that's a good question. In the 90s and even lately, I've had 5, 6, 7 going on out of my office at one time. I don't know how many at one time, but there used to be a lot. We've done a lot before. I wouldn't know, Brooke, how many exactly we have done, but yeah, we've done a lot before at one time. How about the availability of rules for old guys like me? The availability of rules. I'm not sure what that means, Robert. I mean, we still have to keep all the SAG rules. We still have to keep all those rules, if that's what you're talking about. But I'm not sure. So if you can reword that in another comment, I'll answer that. How many self-tapes averaging are you looking at for any kind of role? What makes some of them stick out? Well, number one, it depends on the role. We try, with your headshots submitted, we try to narrow it down to 20 to 30 people that we're reading for each role. But if we're doing 20, you know, if we narrow it down to 30 people for each role, and we're doing 20 parts in a movie, it gets to be a lot of tapes. So yeah, we try to narrow it down to 20 to 30 at the most that we request tapes on, and then we have to narrow that down to what we send to the director. And I usually narrow that down to my top 4 or 5 that I send to the director. But so we do get a lot of tapes, but that's kind of how that works. So, Caleb, the way you find our casting calls is through an agent or, you know, get onto our independent list. It just, you know, we don't, these aren't broadcast publicly, just so you know. In your opinion, is it productive for unrepresented actors to self-submit actors access, or should people put their energies into finding representatives to submit for them instead? I'd say both. You need to find some experience. You know, the more experience you have, the more chances are you're going to get an agent. But you're going to get bigger auditions with an agent too. So yes, you need to do both at the same time. You need to be working on your career and your craft, but you also need to find a representation that can get you into the room. It's an important deal. So sometimes that takes time. So a lot of times to find an agent, it takes, you know, if you were out in LA, it could take a year. So you're going to have time to try to work on those other things too, those independents. Should I take some voice training? Voice training is always great. You know, actors need to have to control their voice. It's part of the art form that they do is how they use their voice. So voice would be great. I'm not talking for voiceover. I'm talking being able to control your voice and being able to put it in a different pitch and being able to use it, you know, use it. So, but there's plenty of classes out there for that. But yes, voice is a very big deal. Leanna, if you've been cast as a principal part in a TV series, how likely is it that you could be cast again as a different or larger role in another episode or season? Extremely unlikely. It can happen, but it doesn't usually happen. They don't like to repeat people because it overdoes, you know, people go, wait, weren't they, you know, and it does happen though that sometimes they bring people back, you know, a year, 2 years later, but it's very unlikely especially if your character was a pretty big character in the episode you did, it would be very unlikely that they'll bring you back. Stephanie Howe, I know Utah's a right to work state. Is union membership a factor in all the project roles you cast? Yeah, Utah is a right to work state, so I cannot force somebody to join the union, and I can't be exclusive about that. So we do get a lot of people who get Taft-Hartley'd and work on union projects here. So, but basically, you know, they're usually they have to be qualified actors, meaning they're pursuing the career. So, meaning that they're training, meaning that they're actually trying to pursue a career in acting, but they don't have to join the union. So, a lot of times we get people who we have to Taft-Hartley. That happens a lot. Do you see auditions ever coming back in person? Are you ever doing any auditions currently in person? We have actually started to do callbacks in person. We've had some directors want to do callbacks in person, and we've been doing that the last few months. Very rarely do like Yellowstone and Horizon, they cast everything directly off the tape. They didn't hardly ever do any callbacks. In fact, we hardly did any at all. But, you know, some of these other movies we've been doing, the directors kind of want to meet people. So we've been actually doing some live auditions at the, you know, when we can. If not, it's been a live Zoom audition. But it's mostly been, you know, Zoom. But, you know, there are some directors that now want to meet people in person. So it's come back a little bit. I don't see it ever coming back completely just because of the convenience of it for the directors. It's not just convenience for me. I prefer to meet you guys in person, but it's a lot more work for a lot less people that we can get through the door. And so they want it faster, better, quicker. So self-tapes have kind of gone the way it was. I fought self-tapes up until COVID, and then once that door was open, there was not much I could do. So, what are you looking for when you ask for headshots before giving people auditions? We just want to make sure you look for like the role. We're looking for, do you fit the role, and do we know you're acting, and so we a lot of times it helps to remind us of who you are. I mean, we get thousands of people submitting, so it's like, oh, we know that person. Yeah, we love that person. Yeah, they should read for this and this and that. A lot of times you'll submit for something and we might think you're right for two other roles or one other role or things like that. So it's really to help us find a role for you. So when you're submitting your headshot, it's literally for us to go, oh yeah, they're great for this or they're great for that. Because we've read the script and we're kind of trying to fill those roles at that point. Do you offer any audition classes to get on your radar? I have been literally talking to a studio in the last week. I am probably going to teach a auditions class. It's probably going to be more of a scene, just an auditions class, you know, self-tape and auditions class. I don't know when it will be. It'll probably be on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know when I'll start it. I'm literally just toying with the idea. The problem is time. And I've been so busy over the years that I haven't had time to do it, but it's a little slower right now. And I'm toying with the idea because I really do want to start seeing people live because it's been too long for me to not see people live. So I'm really probably going to do it. I'll announce that on Facebook and I'll announce it to the agents and stuff when I do that. Do I know of any agencies actively bringing on new talent? I I don't know. I don't know how. I don't. I mean, I work with the agencies. I don't know how actively they're bringing on new talent. But all agencies are always looking for good talent. Every agency, if you've got experience, if you've got some work underneath your belt, they're always looking for talent that'll book. So I wouldn't let that bother you. I would send it out. I would send out your stuff to people, even just to get them to start to get to know you. They may not take you the first time. When I got an agency in Los Angeles, I remember I went and I had an audition in front of about 25 people, in front of all their bookers, and I didn't hear anything for 6 months. And then 6 months later, they called me and told me that they had accepted me. So it's just a process. So it just depends on the agency. I'm about to graduate with my degree in acting, but I'm curious about where I can continue training. Are there any reputable workshops or courses you can recommend? Shoot Robert an email. We have a list of people that we recommend. I don't have it in front of me right now. And some of the acting, we're still putting together that list. So if you guys know of good classes, send them to us too. Because I can't see all the classes. I can't go to all the classes. So I want to make sure that I give the right, information out. But we definitely want to keep a list and try to get it out to you guys. What do you recommend for people who might get discouraged when they submit audition after audition and never get a call back? You don't know that you didn't get a call back. Most of our stuff is being cast off of tape, and so you don't know. A lot of times they're not doing callbacks. A lot of times they're, you may be the second or third in line and want somebody to beat you out. So don't take that so hard. The fact that you're getting auditions and that you're being requested, that's a good thing. It happens. I have people who've been auditioning for me for years and never booked. It's, in the end, it comes down to the directors, to the studio, to the producers who gets booked. And so you have to understand that it's not personal. If you're getting auditions, it's because we like you and we want to keep getting you in. So just keep doing it. That's all you can do. Do I cast actors who can sing? Depends on the role. Hold on, I just lost all my questions. Hold on just a second. Okay. Actors who sing, it depends on the role. We don't always, most of the time movies don't need someone to sing, but we have done some musical stuff where somebody had to sing. So, have you ever heard of a guy, Robert Andrus? Yeah, Robert is a good acting coach. My associate does actually a really good job at coaching acting, just so you know. Yeah, are you experiencing better trained talent in Utah? Utah's always had some really good talent, but it's getting better and better. We've always had a really good pool of actors, and the pool's actually growing. It's been really nice to see over the 30 years of casting I've done. It's really getting good. So, how many tapes for one role do you send on to a director producer? About 5 or 6. I don't send more than the directors want me to do my job and narrow it down to my top choices. So I'll usually narrow it down to 5 or 6 people that I would recommend for a role. So I usually narrow it down to that. How does one become a caster? How do you find out producers to help cast? Well, Leanna, you have to intern. There's a couple ways to do it. Number one, a lot of people go and intern with a casting director in LA. They work their way up, sometimes they just start casting for student films and work their way in. I kind of got lucky. I was working with a casting director out here, and I had no idea I was learning how to be a casting director, and then I had a producer give me a job opportunity. So it just depends, but it's kind of an art form in itself, so you do have to learn that art form. So yeah. I answered that already. Typically, I don't see you guys ever asking for more than one take. Is there ever a case where you would want more than one take submitted for an audition? Once in a while, but most of the time what we're doing is I just want to see your take. So when you come into a live audition, I'm not looking for you to do it 50 different ways. I already figure you can do it 50 different ways. I'm looking for you to tell me the story that needs to be told. So that's why we only usually ask for one audition, one take. Is I want to see you do your best take, your best story that you think the way it should be played. Now that's not necessarily the way they're going to play it, But that way I can know I have a storyteller and that I know that somebody can do the job. If we need a redirect, we'll get a hold of you and get a redirect. If we need to see it differently, we'll do that in callbacks or on a redirect. But absolutely, the reason why we don't need to see 2 or 3 takes is because if you're not an actor who can do different takes and take direction, then we shouldn't be bringing you in the first place. I want to see your best take on how you would tell the story. How often do I cast someone in a different role that they auditioned for? That happens a lot. We'll have somebody audition and the director will be like, you know what, let's read them for this. Or we'll be having a hard time finding another role and the director has liked that person and we'll be like, well, what about having so-and-so read for it? So that happens a lot. It's a process. Casting is an art form and we're always doing it, it's a process to get the cast put together. So we're always kind of doing rereads and ideas and changing things around to try to see how it works, to make sure it works for the film. So happens a lot. What advice do you have in building connections in the industry? Number one, understand that every project you do, no matter what, whether it's a student film or somebody shooting kind of or $100 million film, that person, whoever that is producing and directing that, that's the biggest thing that person's doing. So do your best job. Absolutely be the most professional no matter what. Come in prepared. Tell the story you need to tell as an actor. And always do that because directors remember that. They always remember people who worked well for them. I have directors that come in after 10 years of working with them 10 years ago, and they ask for people because they loved working with them so much out here. So understand that every job you do is going to get you a job. Every audition you do is going to get you another audition as well. You never know where we're going to go. Like, you remember that audition so-and-so did? I know they didn't get that role because it ended up going somewhere else, but they were so good, we can read them for this. So understand that everything you do it as best as you can. Absolutely as best as you can. And that's the best way you can network, is always do the best job you can. Self-tapes, basically, self-tapes. The question is there anything an actor should never do in a self-tape that can hurt their chances at callback? Not taking direction, not actually reading the directions, not doing what we just will on merit just not send you forward. We just can't do that. We get people, who read descriptions. We don't need to hear the descriptions. We want to see you act. Things like that. But basically, it's not taking the direction. Again, Warren, I have a list of acting classes that we keep. It's not updated right now, so I do like TA and I do like AIA. I like them both. There's some good classes out there. I don't know all of their classes and all their techniques, so I don't like putting everything out there when I don't know them well enough to, but there are some really good classes out there, and absolutely, we'll put some kind of thing up where people can post their classes or something where people can find out about it. I would always audit a class no matter what. Go and audit, make sure it's some class you want to take, because, you might have been something you've already taken or something you already know or something you just not, or you don't get along with the instructor. So always audit was my best advice to find a good class. Does the agency you are repped with impact your chances of booking a role? Absolutely not. We like to work with most agencies. There have been a couple agencies we had to cut down on because they were not being agents. They were being more schools, and they weren't actually helping their people. They were more worried about getting people into classes. So we have cut that down, but absolutely, if your agent represents you, we see most everybody that does who are professional agents. We don't differentiate that way. As long as they're professional, as long as they do a good job, I don't care who your agent is. That's your choice, and that's who represents you. So it doesn't hurt you as far as getting a role. Sheila is still around. Broadway is still around, and Sheila still is around. You should contact her if you wanted to start being repped by her again. Paul, do you have a time in your mind for about how long you watch self-tapes and decide if someone is worth moving forward? For example, if you're 1 minute in and you don't like the acting, you just stop watching? It depends. I mean, it really depends. If I'm watching somebody and I know for sure that they're not right for the role because their headshot didn't match with what we got as far as what they look like, then it won't be very long. If not, if it's a bigger role and I know there's some complicated stuff, I'm going to watch it a lot longer. If it's a couple lines, I'm going to watch it through and just, and make a decision quick. So I can pretty much get into it and know within a minute to 2 minutes. But, we always have, Robert watches all the tapes first. He sends his recommendations on to me, and then I narrow them down from there. So we're always watching your tape. So, but again, it's not really a time thing. It's about whether or not the person has created the character. If the person is not doing their work and hasn't created the character and told me the story of the character, I can rule you out pretty fast. It's really easy to tell that someone's just reading lines and hasn't actually done their work. So, how do you join the independent list? You can send, we're changing that up. I'm going to say, you give me, I'll have to announce that. We're changing some stuff up with the independent list right now. So I'll have to announce that another time. Okay. Now, Robert, how about the availability of acting roles for old guys like me? There's lots of roles for you, Robert. There's a lot. We just cast a bunch of 60 and 70-year-olds in a movie just last week. So it just, it depends on the project. Sometimes there's a lot, sometimes there's none. It's the same with kids. Everybody asks me about kids all the time. It's like, sometimes we have a lot of kids, and sometimes we go a year without hiring anybody under the age of 18. So it just depends. It just depends. Okay, going down. If an actor says they're able to work as a local hire to work as, does that mean providing a Utah mailing address on paperwork? They want you to have a Utah address in order to get the tax incentive. They're looking for people who are local in order to get the tax incentives. If you don't have one, then you don't have one, but they're looking for that in order to be able to qualify for tax incentives. So, I can't tell you what to do with that, but I can tell you that, yeah, they do want people who have local addresses. No, Heidi Hackney, that's a good one. What is your preferred communication method to receive career updates from actors? You shoot me something on Facebook or shoot me something on Instagram, or if you have, I don't really. You don't need to send me something in the mail. I mean, I still get mailers once in a while. It's kind of funny. I used to get mailers a lot. They've got, nowadays you don't do them as much, but I don't need a mailer and all this announcement. But love to hear what you're doing. If you've got a new movie or something, we love to hear that kind of stuff. It helps us with our clients too, because we can tell somebody, hey, so-and-so just did this and did that and did that. So it helps us sell you guys too. What is the best way to be involved with the MPAU? Be a member and be an active member. Absolutely go to mpau.org and sign up and pay the $50 for the year. We're always raising money to, this year we're going to have to make donations to certain people. We're always raising money. We're always trying to up the incentive. All the movies over like $500,000 are incentivized, just so you guys know. Most of them are. And so we need to get that incentive up to keep more work here. So absolutely become involved, get your friends involved, get everybody involved. Warren Tharp, how did you transfer from being an actor yourself to a casting director? Is that recommended that you start as an actor first? Can you get in the industry or get into different positions other than acting without having to be an actor? You do not have to be an actor to be a casting director. There's a lot of casting directors who've never been actors. I just happened to go that direction. I had started as an actor in my 20s and basically got an opportunity to cast a movie when I was 23. And basically it just kept getting jobs and kept getting jobs until I got to the point where I'm like, well, maybe I should just do this. I still like to act once in a while, but I very rarely get the chance to audition because I can't really audition for the stuff that I'm casting. That's good and not really cool. So I still act once in a while, but absolutely, that's kind of how that happened. Does the director watch all the audition videos or just the ones that you guys recommend? Only the ones I recommend. Most of the time, the directors don't have the time. They want me to do my job and get back to, and they don't even see the ones that I don't recommend. So, yeah. Carolyn Koskin, I'm happy to see pay for play and the rates increasing. SAG increased. Now India needs to increase. The Starving Artists was getting old. You notice that too? Yeah, they're getting up there. Even the independent, well, even the low budget contracts are going up. They're not going up enough, but they're going up. So, yeah, I think SAG's been doing really well with keeping the rates pretty good. I'd love to be able to see them get more, but it's difficult to make a living as an actor as it is. So, absolutely. The independent list. I'll probably release something. Right now, I need to change the way the independent list is working, so that's why I can't release it right now because we've been revamping some stuff here, so I can't tell you how to do that yet. But I will release something on Facebook about how to get on the independent list as soon as I can. Give me a couple weeks, and I'll release something on that. Fritz Tetzers, I've been using a computer-generated voice as my off-screen partner. Does that hurt a self-tape? As long as the lines are being read and you can react off of them, I don't care. It's a little weird when people try to tape their voices and playback tape and try to do the timing. That's weird. So I prefer to have a live reader just because they're going to give you the lines as you need the lines, not as you tape the lines, so you're not trying to do the timing thing. But I'm not sure exactly how you're using computer generated or how that works. So to me, as long as it's believable and real, I'm fine with that, All right, will you speak a little bit about FICOR? Do you suggest a SAG actor in Utah become FICOR? I don't ever want to tell an actor what to do with their union status. I am a union member, and I believe that there's reasons to join the union. They're not always financial in a right-to-work state, but there is absolutely reasons to join the union. I would never tell anybody what to do. If you want to be FICOR, be FICOR. If you don't. I'm not, I want people to do what I think the reason you have a right to work state is so people can do what they want to do. And so I would never tell them I would never tell an actor what direction. That's why I'll never tell an actor what agent they should be with. I'll never tell an actor what projects they should do. I'll never tell an actor anything like that because that's the actor's career. It's not mine. So, do you have some favorite casting stories or magic, fantastic moments in casting? Well, I got to spend 5 days with Kevin Costner on Horizon, basically staying at his house and talking about actors. That was pretty cool. And being able to talk to somebody, a legend like that, about acting. And believe me, guys, he spent a half an hour talking to me about a one-line role. He spent 45 minutes talking to me about a role that didn't speak. So, these people are into it, and they worry about things like the one-line role. So when you guys get a one-line role and you're going, oh, it's just one line, not to that director. And this was a legend. So absolutely, that was an eye-opener to talk to him about acting. Oh God, what was my favorite movie as a kid? I had all kinds of favorite movies. I was big into westerns for a while. My dad was he loved westerns. So I still love westerns. That's one of the reasons I still love westerns. I liked all kinds of sci-fi. I can't really narrow it down anymore. People ask me that question now, what's my favorite movie? And I can't tell you because there's so many of them, but I can tell you some. One of my favorite movies to work on was The World's Fastest Indian. And it was just a great movie to work on. And then, there's all kinds of independents that I've worked on and little tiny things. So it just depends, there's so many of them. Yeah, Joe, you're very right. Membership pays for itself with the first incentivized gig that hires you. I still do love my job, Will. Absolutely still love it. I get burned out sometimes, and it's a lot harder now that I just watch tape and I don't get to meet you guys and I don't get to see you guys as much. That's why I kind of want to start teaching again, is just so that I can actually see some progress and help people again. It's hard when I'm not in the room with you guys, but I still do love it. I still really do love it. Okay, on a self-tape for a film, do I ever notice the eye line is too close to the camera? Yeah, I'd be careful about doing this. I'd be careful about staring into the camera because again, that's the fourth wall. So I try to look at least a little bit off of it, but we're not that worried about it in a self-tape. If you're talking to your audience, absolutely stare into the camera. I'm talking to the audience now. But if you're not, I'd be careful about it. It's not that big a deal on a self-tape, but it does help if you keep your eye line a little bit off the camera. Landing jobs have been slow for me. How do I get more info on why I'm being passed on and how I can improve? Call your agent and see if you can get feedback from us the next time you audition. And they'll call us up and say, hey, can I get some feedback? We don't, I give you what feedback I know. It might not be something you're doing. It might just be something that just hasn't clicked for you on those roles. It might be a look. I don't know. If we're asking for you to audition and we're getting you into auditions, we usually have a reason. Remember, we'll get 300 people submitting for one role on a project, and we narrow it down to 20. So, if we're asking you to come in and read, there's a reason. So we are liking you still. So, can we ask our agent for feedback on self-tapes or callbacks submitted? You can. We'll get to it when we can. Absolutely. And we'll try to give you feedback when we can. Yeah. My girls auditioned all the time, only small parts. My oldest has over 4,000 views on her last audition for a bigger dancer part. We thought she'd get it. Any advice? I'm not sure what 4,000 views on her last audition is. I think that might be that you put it on like a Facebook or a YouTube. I don't run my auditions that way. We're not allowed to have our auditions be public, so I'm not sure what that is. I would never do that. Because it's not about that. The audition is actually a time for an actor to be intimate with a role and to show us how they would do it. And it's nobody else's business how that goes. So I don't know what that means. But, some companies, like I guess for some of the dance competitions and some of the things they do that, they do these auditions, they want to see how many people watch it and things like that. I don't work that way, so I can't tell you, Emily, about that one. I don't know really how that works. How often do I do these Q&As? This is a first in a while. I want to keep doing them. I'm trying to help as much as I can. Like I said, I've been feeling disconnected from the community because I'm just watching tape and not meeting you guys and seeing you guys. So this is one of the reasons why I want to do this more. I just gotta make myself do it. I'm absolutely just learning this Facebook Live stuff. So if you guys have any other suggestions, let me know. Allison Jackson, how much does not having a demo reel impact chances in auditions? A demo reel will get you in the door. A demo reel might even put you over the top on if you do an audition and they're trying to decide between you and somebody else. But the demo reel, mostly, we look at your demo reel and go, yeah, this person can act. Let's see what they can do. So the audition itself is what's really going to get you the part. But the demo reel will get you in the door. Some people book off of demo reels. If it's a small role, they'll book off of a demo reel. Very rarely do my clients, if somebody hires me, they don't want to see a demo reel, they want to see an audition. But sometimes they'll call your agent directly and book off demo reels. So demo reel is important. So as much as you can put one together, I would put one together. How many more SAG films are there incentives for this year, or are they funds used up? The funds are not used up yet. I'm not sure exactly the amount that's still left. It's still in the millions. There's still some projects to come in. I can't tell you those projects because I barely know them and I'm not allowed to tell people anyway. But they're not all used up. There still is funding. So absolutely, if you have a producer friend or somebody that's trying to bring a movie in, they should get a hold of the Film Commission and try to make sure that they can get tax incentives. I have never understood how to become SAG eligible. The only thing you can do in Utah now, in other states. Like in California, if you do 3 consecutive days on a SAG movie as an extra, and as a paid SAG extra, then you can become SAG eligible. That doesn't happen in Utah. The only thing you can do in Utah to become SAG eligible is do a line in a SAG film. Basically, have a SAG part in a SAG film, and get a Taft-Hartley. So you have to audition, book a part, and then you're SAG eligible, basically. Ivy, do you suggest keeping demo reels to 1 minute or less, and should they be separated into categories? If you have that much stuff, absolutely. Love to see a comedic one, a commercial one, a dramatic one. 1 minute is great. I'm all about short ones because we're not going to watch a 10-minute demo reel. It's not going to happen. We don't have the time. But I'll watch a 1 minute demo reel or a 2 minute demo reel. Some people are cutting them up really smart. In fact, some people are doing 30-second demo reels. But, you know, what it is we just want to see you act. We want to see what you can do. So if you have a comedic reel and then you have a dramatic reel, it just gives you two more options. So if you have all that, absolutely. Not sure what a letterbox is. Sorry, Warren. Thank you for all that. Okay. Live auditions were the best. Okay, art is so subjective. What do you consider good acting? Somebody who tells me a story and it moves me. You know, if I'm watching 50 actors do a part and it's the same role, the 4 to 5 that get sent onto the director are the ones that move me, the ones that I believe the most, the ones that got it, the ones that absolutely I was like, yeah, you know, if it was, you know, whether it was, you know, a role where somebody died or somebody, or an emotional role, somebody who got me there. So it is a feel. It is an actual feeling. It isn't just knowing your lines. It's knowing the role, knowing how you want to play the role, and putting your emotions and your persona into that, and absolutely going for it. Can you make an audition public after the movie has been released? No, you cannot. Unfortunately, those words are not yours. You don't have the rights to them. It is the writer's rights. So you cannot make auditions public even after the movie has been released. I would never recommend that. It would make you look very unprofessional. This is my resume has been full for a long time now. How critical is it to be exactly current? Take off the old stuff, put on the new. Eventually you will get to the point where the stuff you did 20 years ago doesn't matter. So take off the old, put on the new. But keep the new stuff. Keep it updated with the new stuff. Yeah. What Facebook would you give us when it comes to self-taping? What feedback, would you give us when it comes to self-taping? What could we do better? Again, it's just a matter of making sure we can see you and hear you. It's not, I don't need a professional, and just worry about the acting, worry about the art form, worry about telling the story. Stop being so worried about the technical issues. You're not a camera person. We know that. We don't want you to be camera people. Well, we don't, you know, we don't need you to do all that stuff. We just need you to be good at acting. Once you're on set, somebody else is going to run the camera, somebody else is going to run the lights, and somebody else is going to do all that other stuff. So we're worried about the acting more than anything. Focus on the acting. I think I went over that. Could you ever share great auditions and where they got the role? I think I kind of went over that. How often do directors look at any actor's IMDb on average when they're auditioning? Some of them look at them a lot, and some of them don't. I do have directors who like to look up social media. They want to get to know their actors, so they'll look up your social media. They'll look you up, try to find out more about you. And then I have directors who don't care. So just realize that some people could look up your social media and things like that. But yeah, it just depends on the director. It depends on what the director is doing with that. How kosher is it to ad-lib a little in your audition? That's a good question. So, ad-libbing slightly is okay, but realize that if you're auditioning for Taylor Sheridan and he wrote those lines, he doesn't want them changed that much. So don't be changing people's lines. Try to stick with the script as much as possible. A lot of times on a comedy, they'll be like very open to ad-libbing. It'll be in the notes. It'll be in the breakdown. Feel free to ad-lib. So you can ad-lib a little, but not. I wouldn't suggest it. I trying to stay with the script as much as possible. I did not get to meet any actors from Fountainhead. The live virtual audition was fun. See, yeah, we have. So there is a rule now that when we run a session for a SAG movie, we have to run some kind of live session on Zoom or in person. It's only got to be for a couple of hours, and those times go up really fast. So we are doing that, and a lot of people like to do that. But let me give you this suggestion though. We're basically only taping at that point. We're not coaching. So if you think you're going to have a leg up for doing that audition live, we won't have the time to coach you, and we're not going to coach you because it's not fair to the people who are self-taping. So understand that if you're going to self-tape, it's just as good. We're basically just going to be your reader and taper. And you're going to have one, maybe two shots at it, and that's it. So understand that. We do it mostly, I tend to like it. I like that SAG's making us do that because there are actors out there who have no clue, and it's usually the older actors in their 70s and 80s who have no clue how to run any of that. So, but again, SAG wants us to do that, and so we are doing it. That's part of the rules. So, how important is it to have someone else off screen reading a supporting part? Very important. We need to hear the other lines. We got to have the other lines so you can react to. That's the one thing, is always get a reader of some sort. Have somebody read it. I'm not sure, Brooke, what Mountainhead is, just so you know. I'm not sure what Mountainhead is. I've heard to dress, cater to the character you're auditioning for, and also heard to wear business casual button-up shirt no matter what. Help. All right, Emma. The best way I've ever heard this is wear what that character would wear to a interview. So if you're going to be a doctor, what would a doctor wear to an interview? Probably something nice. You know, if you're going to be a construction worker, what would a construction worker wear to an interview? I'm not looking at you for your wardrobe. I'm not. A lot of actors work well with how dressing is the character and it helps them in their character. I'm fine with that. But if you're going to go out and rent a period piece or put a stethoscope on and that doesn't look cool. Most directors don't like that. Some low budget directors love it when you have the costume, but most directors don't care. They want to see you perform your acting. They're not that worried about what you're wearing. Do it. Whatever helps you as an actor. Don't be so caught up in it though. When it comes to period pieces, just wear something similar to whatever that would be in the modern day clothes. We do not need you to rent a period piece. We do not need you to do all that stuff. Please don't. You don't need to do all that. You do stand-up with some shots of me doing it live help? Absolutely. They're always looking for comedians and people who are funny. Get a demo tape of some of your stand-up. That would be great. On the resume, is it listed by role size or date? I would put by the role size. I mean, the bigger movies you want up top, for sure. The bigger things you've done, you definitely want up top. But, eventually some of those will come off that were 20 years ago, So, but I wouldn't do it by date. I would do it by role size as far as some of the bigger roles. That's usually the better way to look at it. Because remember, we're glancing really fast. You want us to see your best stuff first. So, when acting in a role, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. I've noticed and heard other big actors refer to not blinking during the scene to create a dominating, strong character within the scene. Do you know of any secrets that'll help you with this technique, aside from good eye drops? I don't really have any techniques to not blinking other than not blinking. If it's a choice you're going to make to not blink, then rehearse it that way. Rehearse it a few times and try to do that. But I don't, some actors, some people overblink. Some people get really blinky and it gets obnoxious. So if you're an overblinker, you're going to need to worry about that. But part of that would be getting more into your character. How's a character will have a slight look just because of who they are. So your eyes should be actually part of that. It shouldn't be this abnormal way of doing it because I'm not going to blink. It should be I'm not blinking because the choice is the character. I'm staring someone down because this is the choice of the character, not because you just want to not blink. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Is there any series work coming to Utah? I hope so. I've heard a rumor, but I don't know for sure yet. No, I don't think we're ever going to complete back in person. I've already answered that question. I don't think we will actually go back into person completely, in person auditions. Okay, I'll check out Letterboxd, Warren. Thank you for that. I've never even heard of that. What about your real age versus look? We're going to go off of what you look like. You should never tell us your age. Actors should never have to. If you're under 18, you have to tell us because it's legal. But after you're over 18, you don't have to tell us your age. Just don't tell us your age. We should not be looking at your age. We cannot look at your age, in fact. It's actually illegal for us to ask about your age. If you get an adjustment and callback, can you ask to leave and take 10 to 15 minutes to work on it, then come back in the room? Usually no, Brooke, unless it's in a major, major change. If it's a different character and we want you to read a different character, absolutely. But on set, they're going to want to change things on the fly. And so they're going to want to give you direction and have you take those notes and go right back into the scene. So that's why in the audition, you need to do it right there instead of taking 10 or 15 minutes with it. How often would you recommend actors update their headshots? If your look changes, you need to update it. If it's older than 2 years, you probably need to update it. Okay, if I had to choose between my 10-year-old being off camera, reading, and recording myself reading the other lines, perfectly timed, of course, which is less bad? I just think it's difficult as an actor to deal with the timing of a recording and deal with your character and deal with your acting, and, So I would say the 10-year-old would be better. I would get a list of friends that you could get on Zoom or get on, a Zoom call real quick that could read with you too. I mean, that's what I would do, is get some actor friends and just know their numbers and say, hey, can you read some lines for me on, this at this time? So that's what I would do. To clarify, would you put a bigger role at the top if it's a lesser known production, or a more well-known production at the top? So when I say bigger, I mean well-known. Yeah, if you're in Yellowstone, and then you're in I would put Yellowstone above, like, a student film where you're the lead. Absolutely. I would put the bigger thing as far as exposure, as far as, yeah. Are the self-tapes getting seen by producers all at once or as they come in? The self-tapes get seen by me and my associate, and then we pick our choices and send them to the producers and director. Is it true that the fastest you send a self-tape, the better chance you have to be cast? Not necessarily. Doesn't really mean that. But the faster you send a self-tape, our eyes are fresher, and we're going to be looking at you with the fresher eyes. When we get 300 self-tapes right at the deadline, it's a lot of tapes to go through. By the end of that day, we're a little fried. So if you get them in earlier, we've already looked at them because we look at them as they come in. So it's always good to keep us with fresher eyes, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get the role. It doesn't mean it will help you or differentiate. So. Are monologues something to add to a reel, or is it best to keep separate in a drive folder? It depends on the monologue. We're not usually hiring people for film and television off of monologues, but if you have a great Shakespeare piece, it could be good for a reel. It depends on the monologue, depends on that. Most of the time, we're not looking at monologues. Your reel should be the most updated real stuff you've done, actual shot stuff you've done at first. And if you don't have that, then you should do things like show bits of a play or show a monologue or things like that. So if you have enough footage for an actual reel that doesn't have to have that monologue, I wouldn't put it on there. There are online reader platforms if you're seeking a third option. Yeah, I would love to know some of those online. I know that there's a couple of places to do it, but I don't know who's good, because I need to find that out. So yeah, there is absolutely people who will read with you for a small fee, or even you can sign up, and if you're part of the group, they'll read with you and you can read with them, type of thing. Yeah. When self-taping, is it best to use a solid background color that matches your eyes to help your eyes stand out? Doesn't matter to me. It's just a background that doesn't distract from you is great for me. Oh wow, there's a new app called Rafi, and you can enter the lines of the other character and choose voices and even change the intonation so you don't actually have to have someone else reading off the camera for you. I have never seen this. I'll have to check it out. Thanks for that information, Alexis. Any suggestion for kids 7 to 11? Get them into a play, get them into a class, let them be who they are. It's so hard because sometimes there's lots of work for them and sometimes they're grown up before that any work comes in for them. So there's a lot of agents in town that won't even take 7 to 11-year-olds just because there isn't enough work for them. So what I would do is get them into a play, get them into some kind of there's Shakespeare classes for youth, things like that. See if they love it, see if they like it. Make sure they like it, and I start in the theater world, and then hopefully it'll translate into film world if there's something for them. Do you guys help cast local low budget projects? All the time. We're doing a little $150,000 movie right now. And it's been fun to cast. I always try to do this. In my career, I've learned that I had a name actor once, and I won't tell you who it is just because it's too much of a brag. But we were trying to book a name actor for a movie. It was a little $5 million movie. So that's little in Hollywood terms. And I called the manager to see if he was even interested. And this guy gets paid $5 million a project. And the manager called me back and said, hey, yeah, he would love to do it. And I'm like, really? We don't have that much money. And he was like, well, he's made it a goal in his life that he wants to work with independents so that he can stay in that independent world. And so he always makes us mandates so that we do 2 or 3 independents a year. And I've kind of kept that idea too. I try to help as many independents as I can. And some of my independents have done pretty well. I had an independent in Cannes 2 years ago. So it just, we like to help whoever we can. If we can't do it, if we're too busy, we'll tell you, but we try to help as many people as we can. So we audition. That's one that you can do the reader through. That's great, April. Yeah. All right, I'm going to do a couple more, and then I got to take off, guys. Rehearsal and self-tape for actors. We audition, yeah. Auditions have been really slow for me this year. It's the case for everyone. My office has been pretty steady, but it depends on the role. Again, it ebbs and flows for each age group. I know Los Angeles has been dead. It's been really slow out there. So be thankful we're getting auditions, but it's been slow in a lot of places right now. There's not as much production going on right now. I don't know when the next TAW session is. I'm sure it'll be released soon. Great, guys. I think that's it. I hope that helps. Let me know how you guys feel about it. I'm going to try to keep doing these once in a while. Maybe more I'm thinking maybe like a per project one or something. I don't know what I'm going to do here, but we're just working out some kinks here. So I hope this worked. You guys have a good day. Thanks for everything. I will see you guys later. Hopefully I'll see you in person soon.